this video, we're going to be taking a quick look at how to use the OWL course site and the MyLab MIS websites. So first, open up your browser and navigate to owl.uwo.ca. Here, you should be presented by the page that looks something like this, and you just put in your normal Western credentials. So this should be the same username that you use for your Western email and logging into Student Center and all that stuff, and the same password. Once you're logged in, if you have a CS1032 website at the top, just click on that. If you don't see that available, you go into Worksite Setup, and you just click on CompSci 1032. And if you've taken it before, there might be another course listed, so make sure it's the Summer 22. So it should say CompSci 1032A 650, that's the section code, SU for summer, and 22 for 2022. So once you've clicked on CompSci 1032, it should bring you to our course site, specifically the overview page. So the overview page lists a few details about our course, talks a little bit about the content we'll be going over, links to introductory video, my contact information, teaching assistant's contact information, and resources that might be useful to you during your studies at Western. On the right-hand side here, we have announcements. Any announcements will show up here, as well as new posts in our course forums. Now, what's really important is this little star up here. So if you click that, it makes it a favorite site. And it'll always show it up here when you log into OWL, so you won't have to go into work sites and find the course each time. Now, along the left hand here are what I call the tabs. So if in a video I tell you to look at the course content tab, or the quiz tab, or the forum tab, I mean these tabs here. And we'll start by exploring the different tabs. So first up is announcements. So announcements are going to be where any announcements I send to the whole course, all the students, will show up. Right now there's no announcements, so none are shown. But if I make one, it'll send it to your email. So it's important to keep up to date with your emails. That'd be your Western email. And it'll also show it here on the course site. Next is the syllabus tab. And this just is a link to our course syllabus. I recommend reading through this in full, because it'll explain everything about the course, how everything's going to be graded, and the important policies and rules you need to know about. Next is the course content tab. So this tab's a little bit special. When you click on it, it's going to expand at first and show you the different weeks. But if you just click on course content, it'll also give you a summary of all the weeks with a little bit of information about what those weeks cover. So you can click on course content and get this, and then click on the week you're interested in, or you can click on the sub tab for the week you want to know about. Right now, we only have 1 week posted because we're in the first week of the course. Every week, a new one will show up either on this course content page or under here. And then when you click on it, you can get information about what you have to do, the tasks you have to accomplish, and the assigned readings for that week. Let's take a look. So this is week 1 of the course. At the top, will tell us our weekly goals. Those are sort of the learning objectives for the week. And then we'll see different tasks listed under weekly tasks. And there'll be these different boxes that sort of divide the different things we have to worry about for the week. So for this week, there's a list of tasks, including reading the syllabus, reading a discussion on academic dishonesty, introduce yourself in the course forums, install the required software, and register for MyLab MIS. Now under it, we can see this really useful thing here, and this is a to-do list. So this isn't graded or viewed by me at all. This is just for your own personal purposes. You can check off things as you've done them. So if you've read the course syllabus, you can put a check right there, and it will save it for you. If you've introduced yourself on the course forums, you can put a check right there. And that way you'll always know each week. If you checked everything off, then you're good to go. You've done everything that's required of you for that week. And if you miss something in a week, you can quickly look back and see what you forgot to do. So I highly recommend keeping up to date on your to-do list and checking things off after you complete them. But once again, checking these off doesn't actually do anything other than just make a note of it for yourself. It's just to let you know what you've accomplished so far. Next, over here in the homework tab, it's going to list the assigned readings. This week, it's going to be read chapter 1 in your textbook, and it's going to list the recommended MyLab homework. So once again, the MyLab homework is optional, but it's highly recommended to study for the final exam and for quizzes. So the MyLab homework for the first week is going to be Chapter 1 warm-up quiz and Chapter 1 video quiz. Video quiz is where you watch a little bit of video, and you answer some questions about it. These will be videos specifically made by Pearson. They don't mean my videos. And those will all be on the MyLab course website. Next, we'll have lectures and tutorials. And these will simply list the different video lectures or video tutorials that we'll be covering that week. If you click on one of these, it will take you to a YouTube video of me talking to you about whatever the topic is. Sometimes I'll also have these links on the side that'll let you access the PowerPoint slides. But be warned that the slides aren't always super helpful out of context. I like to avoid reading directly from the slides when I can, so often the slides will show figures, diagrams, and things that help explain what I'm talking about, but they won't just have walls of text that I read through. So I do recommend reading the videos if you're able, or watching the videos rather, over reading the slides, or do both. For tutorials, it's going to be similar to lectures, except they're going to be more focused on a certain task. For example, I might be working on Excel problems with you where you're supposed to follow along rather than me lecturing to you. So for the first week, we have 3 video lectures. Introduction's going to cover the course syllabus. We have Introduction to Business, which defines a few business terms. And we have a Chapter 1 video that talks a bit about the content of Chapter 1. And in these chapter video lectures, I'm not going to be just repeating what's in the textbook to you. Rather, I'm going to be expanding on the ideas in the textbook and summarizing key points. So even though I am going to be lecturing about some of the chapters, it is important that you still read the text. So some of these video tutorials over here will go right to YouTube, and other ones will show additional information. If it has a little folder, it means there's going to be additional information. If it has a little arrow or just a link, it means it's probably going to YouTube. So we can take a look at install the required software. This takes us to a subpage. It's going to have the video lecture up here, as well as some text-based instructions. And that'll mostly just be for the stuff getting us set up in the course. Otherwise, if you click on something like a lecture, it's going to bring us to YouTube. So I assume most of you are familiar with YouTube, but there are a few features I should point out that might be helpful for you when you're studying for this course and any other course that uses YouTube. So the first one is the Settings tab right here. And one of the fun features, and really useful ones, is playback speed. So you can either slow it down or speed it up, even up to 2 times as fast. So for long lectures, this might actually be helpful. And I don't say that jokingly, that you should fast forward the lectures because they're boring, but there's actually been research that shows that watching lectures like these at double the speed can actually be beneficial. And some of the things that they recommend are watching them double the speed, and then if there's something in the lecture that you don't understand or want to focus on more, pause, go back, and watch it at normal speed. And the research on this has actually shown that this can be more effective than watching the videos on normal speed. So if you find that the videos are taking up a long time, you might want to try different speeds. Otherwise, I'd try keeping them on normal. You can, once again, change that under playback speed. We'll set it back to normal. Another great feature YouTube has is closed captioning. So this is auto-generated using machine learning. And if we turn it on, we can see that some of it isn't going to be super accurate because it is generated by a computer. But usually it's good enough to have a general idea what's going on in the video if you can't use sound for some reason. Also related to closed captioning are video transcripts. So what you can do to access this is click these little ... right here and click on Show Transcript. And what will come up here is actually the full transcript for the whole video that YouTube has generated. So it's not always perfect because it is generated by a computer, but what it does enable you to do is to use the search feature in your browser and, for example, look for, try my name. And you can see that it found my name right here at the introduction. And if you click on that part, it'll jump to that part in the video. So this makes it very easy to search for things in videos and jump to the spot where they are. So for example, if we want to look for this introduction video, we could say, maybe we want to know more about MyLab. So I type in MyLab, and we could see that I said something about directly to Pearson MyLab right here. And we could jump right to that point in the video, which is quite helpful. So going back to the OWL course site, we can see that there's a few more sections on this week tab. One is looking ahead. So if you completed all the tasks for a week and want to get a head start on the next week, this section will tell you a few things you can do. For example, if you want to get a head start on week 2, you could start reading Knowledge Extension 4 in your textbook and ensuring that you have Microsoft Office installed and Excel. It also says that assignment 1 is going to be posted next week, and that May 13th is the last day to drop a summer course. So this section can be very helpful if you like staying ahead of the course. Then there'll also be a supplementary section. So this will often have links to reports and things that either the text or I talk about, as well as additional resources, documentation, and things like that. Anything listed in supplementary is completely optional. You don't have to read any of this to pass the course or get a good grade in the course. It's just going to be things that you can further expand your knowledge or things that might be useful while working on assignments, though aren't required. For example, when we're working on Excel, I might post some things about different Excel functions that you can read up on in addition to the tutorials. Supplementary will always be in addition to what we're doing in the course. So looking at the tabs again, we can see that there's one called the video index. And what this is going to be is it's going to list all the videos I've created for the course by topic rather than week. So instead of having to go through here and look for each week to find something you look for, you can look at the video index and you can go to a topic like maybe how to use or business, and it will list the videos, lectures that I've made on those topics. So I'll try to update this every week and keep it up to date, and it will grow and expand as we go through the course. Next is this MyLab MIS tab, and all this does is take us to the MyLab MIS website. This is where your eText is, as well as the MyLab for homework. That is the ungraded practice homework. We'll go into this a little bit more in a sec, but first we're going to finish up with OWL. So next are the course forms. This is where first stop to ask for help. If you have a question about an assignment or something in the course, that's general. You can feel free to post it here. Just make sure that you're not posting your actual solution to assignments. Posting and talking about solutions to MyLab homework is completely fine because it's ungraded, but anything that's an assignment, a quiz, or something like that shouldn't be discussed on the course forums unless it's a general question asking to clarify something about an assignment, or if you have something like an error message that you can ask about without posting your solution. There will also be a section for responses. If you watch that introductory video, I talked a little bit about how participation will be done. Sometimes I'll ask you to make a response. You would post it here. Some of these are sped up special, like the responses and the student introductions, so that you can't view what other students have posted until you've made a post first yourself. But general discussion, MyLab MIS, resource and tutorials, and the assignment discussions are all going to be open right away, and you can start posting and talking in those and viewing what other people have posted. So the next tab is going to be book office hours, and this is how you arrange an office hour with me. If clicking on this doesn't automatically open a page, you can just click this relaunch button, and it should take you to a website that looks a little bit like this. Say my office hours, and it lets you select a time and a date for when you want to book an online office hour with me. Again, those would be over Zoom. So usually this will only show a week in advance, so I can't book for more than a week from now, but you can select the day for the current week and then the time over here. The days will almost always be Wednesday or Thursday. Wednesday will have the most hours, while Thursday will have a few morning hours. And when you want to book an office hour, you select the date you want it, the time you want. Then you scroll down here, you add your name, your email, say what course it's regarding. Sometimes I'm teaching more than one course at once. And then you do a quick description of what the meeting's about. So if it's about an assignment, getting on help on an assignment, you should say the error or problem you're having here, and then hit book. After you hit book, you should get an email confirming it. And if this is about an assignment and there's files involved, you should also email me any files that will be relevant. Office hour slots are only 20 minutes long, just so there's opportunities for all students to get help. So it is important that you send the files ahead of time. That way we're not spending time on Zoom just going back and forth asking you to send me stuff so I can take a look at them. That way I can advance in the meeting, I can take a look, and then be ready to help you right away and make the most of those 20 minutes. So going back to OWL, there's also a TA consulting tab. Right now this doesn't list much because I haven't had the TAs set up yet, but once they have finalized their meeting times and their information. Here there'll be contact information for the TAs. You're free to email them with questions. And each week, each TA will also have 3 hours of consulting time that's done in a drop-in basis. So there'll eventually be some Zoom links here. And when it's that TA's meeting time, you can connect and talk with that TA about the course, assignments, things like that. Keep in mind, it will operate on a first come, first serve basis rather than appointments. So that means you want to be early for those TA consulting times because you do have to wait in the waiting room until it's your turn. Again, that's all going to be virtual on Zoom. Here's the assignments tab. Right now, there's nothing posted, but as assignments are posted, the first one's going to be next week. They'll be listed here. You'll be able to click on them, get full instructions, and submit your assignments. If you have any questions about how to submit, please let me know as early as possible, and we can work through any issues. There'll also be a test and quizzes tab. This is where you'll take any tests or quizzes in the course. Right now, there's just the practice quiz. When there's actually a quiz week, another one will show up here. And when you click that, they'll give you instructions. It's very important to read everything in the blue because it might be slightly different instructions for each quiz. And when you want to start one, you click Honor Pledge. That means that you're doing this by yourself. You shouldn't be doing it with another person. And you click Begin Assessment. But keep in mind, as soon as you click Begin Assessment, that time limit's going to start. And that time limit could be different for each quiz. So we'll take a look at the practice quiz. And this is just going to ask questions about the course syllabus. Practice quiz isn't graded, but it is done for participation marks. And those are just going to be whether you did it or not, rather than what score you got on it. So they're always going to be sort of like true and false, multiple choice, auto-graded type questions. So we can look through this really quick. There's true and false examples. Multiple choice. And if you want to move through the quiz faster, there is this little tab here that lets you view the different questions. So if we want to jump right to question 7, we could do that. And this would be an example of a matching question. And this would be an example of a fill-in-the-blank type question. And these are the type of questions you'll see on your real quizzes. By that, I mean in terms of format rather than content. So once you're done, you can hit save, and that would save and submit your quiz. Last, we have gradebook. Once something's actually marked in the course, like an assignment, it should show up here, your grade, and you can get the actual details for your assignment on the assignment tab. But the gradebook will also include things like quiz grades and how many late coupons you have. So when you start the course, it should say 4, and then those will go down as they're automatically used if you submit anything, well, assignment specifically late. So that's all that there is on the OWL site. If you need help with like a technical issue, like your account's not working or something like that, there's always the help tab, and that will connect you with Western's support services that can help with account issues. Professors like me don't actually have access to any of your account things, so we can't reset passwords or anything like that. So anything about that has to go through Western's technology services. So now let's quickly talk a little bit about the MyLab website. So at this point, I'm assuming you've already signed up for the website, already have access to your book, and have a Pearson account. If you don't have that, please go right now and take a look at the signing up for your eText tutorial video, and I'll tell you how you do that. Once you've already signed up, you just click the sign in button rather than register. And if you click on it like this, and nothing's happening, there's a few reasons that could be. The first one would be that you might have ad block on. I do, so I'm going to disable that. Or you could have pop-ups or some other security settings in your browser. So after you've disabled ad block, you can refresh and click sign in. You might get a pop-up like this saying you have pop-ups blocked. I've found that it doesn't actually matter, but if you're having issues with the site, you might want to make sure that you have pop-ups disabled. It should say how to adjust the settings here if you need help with that. Next is signing in. So you'd put in your username and your password. This wouldn't necessarily be your Western username and password. Rather, it's going to be whatever username and password you registered with when you were signing up for the eText. So once you're logged in, you've put in your Pearson credentials, you should be presented with a page that looks something like this. this will list all your MyLab courses. So for most of you, this is probably only going to be the CS1032, but if you've taken other Pearson courses in the past, they'll be shown here. So you want to click on CS1032, and this will take us to the Pearson MyLab site. This has a few different things available on the left-hand side. Probably the one that you're going to be most interested in is going to be the eText. So if you click here, and then click on Pearson eText, this will load up our textbook. So it doesn't look like much right away, but you can click down here to move pages back and forward. And right now we're just sort of like in the introductory part of the text. That just sort of lists the copyright information. If we wanted to jump a bit faster, we can click on this table of contents here. And it lists all the chapters divided by parts. So if we want to read right, or jump rather, right to chapter 1, where our first reading is, we could click that. And then we have the actual content of our textbook right here. Now, this does have a few nice features that make it a little bit nicer than a normal textbook or a physical textbook, in that you can add digital bookmarks to mark certain pages that are important to you. You can also do things like search the textbook with the search feature here. You type in here, like we could look at, let's say, Porter. Is in Porter's forces. So if we were interested in Porter's forces, we could type in Porter, and it would list the images, key terms, content. So it's quite useful and quite a powerful tool. So we could even have definitions under key terms. In this case, a model proposed by Porter that assesses industry, or we could actually find references to it inside their textbook and jump right to them. We have some other tools like navigation. This can let us go through the textbook in a different way. This might be a little bit nicer. We also have the ability to make notes. So if I want to make a note about this, I could highlight it. This would pop up, and I could either use a highlighter just to highlight it, or I could put a note. Say, this is important. And that's great for studying purposes because it makes it easy to come back later, find notes, and keep track of what you thought is important. We can also create our own flashcards for studying purposes and search what we've selected in the text. So if we want to know more about Moore's Law, we could highlight it and then do search selection. And then it'll bring up the definition of Moore's Law as well as where it's mentioned in the textbook. So it's quite powerful. Another great tool is the playlists. And what this is basically a computerized voice that will read the textbook to you. So you can select the part of the textbook that you're interested in. In this case, maybe part of chapter 1. Select a section.
Q1-2, what is
and
MIS?
As you can hear, it's reading the
Information
textbook.
Systems, MIS, comprise the development and use of information systems that help organizations achieve their goals and objectives.
So if you find that useful, then it might be a great tool. Personally, I'd prefer just reading it myself, but this might let you sit back and do something else while you're listening to it. You also have your notebook, and this will list any notes that you've put in the text or anything you've highlighted so you can quickly get back to them, and clicking on them will jump you right there. Another great studying tool. And then we have some other studying tools, such as flashcards, that allow you to sort of like create a question deck. You could either create your own, or you can use ones that are already built in. They're usually about key terms and definitions. So we can try practice, items. So in this case, you'd read the question, fill in your answer, and then keep going. You can either skip it or submit it. Some of them are going to be text-based, and some of them are going to be multiple choice, things like that. But it's an okay studying tool. So now we're back to MyLab from the eText. If we wanted to look at that homework I've been talking about, that's optional. You can go to Assignments, and it will list all of the homework that you can do here. And I will have stuff from future weeks listed here as well, in case you want to work ahead. So after you've read Chapter 1, for example, you can click on Chapter 1 Warm-Up and click Start, and it will show you a quiz that's going to be mostly multiple choice. So it says, what is an information system? You have some options here like computer software, hardware and software components, information databases, information technology, and components that interact to produce information. So if we've read Chapter 1, we'd know that it is E. And then you click Check Answer, and it tells you if you got it right or not. The point here is not to be like a hard quiz, but rather to be a studying aid. The other type of quiz we might see, I'm going to leave this page, go back to Assignments, are the video quizzes. So these work similarly, but they're a little bit different, that we'll see. So for the video quizzes, it's still a quiz, but first you watch a little bit of a video, usually linked right there. And this is just going to be a quick, short video by Pearson that discusses something related to the content of the chapter, and then you answer some questions about it. This one's the importance of management information systems. I'm not going to play that whole video, but after you watch that, you'd then go through the quiz and answer the questions. The third type of assignments that we're going to see in MyLab are going to be actual Excel and Access assignments. And these aren't going to be quizzes. Rather, they're going to be an Excel sheet or an Access database that you download from the Pearson website, and it will have a Word document that comes with it that lists some tasks to do. So take a look at the Excel one, but they work pretty similarly. So you click here for the name. What this is going to do, so it'll pop up a little window, and it will give you some instructions and some files to download. So click Download Material, and you can download them individually or as a zip file. Download that, open it up, and get something like this. And in this case, we have two files. We have an Excel file that we're going to do the work in. That up. It'll look something like this, like an empty template that you're going to have to do some work in. And then it will have a Word document that's some instructions. This basically tells you all the steps that you have to do to this Excel file. And once you're finished, you save it and you upload it to MyLab MIS, and it will tell you how you did and sort of like auto grade it for you. So once you're done, you click on Upload Complete Document, click Choose File, navigate to wherever you have it, click Upload, and Submit for grading, and close. So it's a bit confusing because you don't see your results right away. To get to your results, you go back to the main menu, you click on Results. You can see that we have two things that we've done. We did that quiz, where we only got one right, and we also have the Excel Part 1 problem solve. In this case, I didn't do that great because I think I just uploaded a random file. So I click it out, Office Excel Part 1. You click that, and it'll open up this window, and it'll tell you exactly what parts you got wrong. So the instruction sheet had a list of steps you had to take with certain values, and if you didn't get it quite right, you'll have like a red mark here and tell you what you did wrong. If you want more information or more hints, you click the arrow, and it'll give you either some hints or a description of what may have not been done right. In this case, there's a bunch because I didn't actually check what the file was. So hopefully you'd be actually doing the work and uploading it. So once again, all this is just for your studying purposes. It's not required. So another tool here is the study plan. And this just kind of helps you find different practice quizzes and warm-up quizzes for the different chapters and content in the text. So if you click on chapter resources here, you can get additional quizzes and things like that, but there's also additional knowledge extensions. So these are sort of like bonus chapters from the text. And these are some things that sort of add on to what we talk about in the course that might be of interest to you. And there's also flashcards, which is yet another studying aid. So you can pick a chapter, you can pick a topic, let's say data, and procedures and people, or you can even select all, and it will build basically a flash deck for you. It's going to say a topic or a term on one side, and it would have the definition on the other. Another great studying aid. So I do highly recommend sort of exploring MyLab MIS yourself, because there are tons of different studying things packed into it. Lastly, Pearson does have an option to get a physical copy of the text. However, this will only apply if you already have purchased the eText. So you can click on the print offer and then click on the loose leaf print offer, and it'll present you with a form where you can purchase a loose leaf copy of the textbook. So that means they're basically going to ship you a stack of papers that aren't necessarily bound together, that have the content of the text that you could put in a binder yourself. So if you really like the physical form, you can pay, I think, a little bit extra to get that loose leaf copy. This could be a good option if you like keeping your textbooks, because I do believe that Pearson does eventually shut off access to the textbook, but that will happen after the course is over. So that's all I have for you in this video. If you have any questions at all about how to use our OWL course site or using the MyLab MIS site, please let me know and I'll try to assist you in any way I can. Thank you for watching and have a great day.